Oh, do you love our choir? They're beautiful, aren't they? You can just feel that beautiful Spirit of God. Well, this month we've been looking at getting some deeper metaphysical perspective on some just basic principles. So we started out the month with the look at what is love. Then Patrick shared what is truth. Last week, Keisha shared what is family. And today we're going to work on what is the kingdom of God. You know, I love to go to the dictionary and check things out. And I was really quite amazed. You know, you'd think you'd get the regular definitions of what is the kingdom of God. I actually looked up kingdom, the word kingdom. And it said, it's an area where one thing dominates. It's ruled by a king or queen. But then it said, in the definition of kingdom, just the word kingdom, y'all with me? It said, God's eternal spiritual sovereignty. Isn't that amazing? That in our deep subconscious mind, we associate the word kingdom with creator. The other definition was the realm where God's sovereignty extends. Kingdom. So, what is the kingdom of God? In the New Testament, this is the entire dialogue of Jesus, if you've read it. He points always to the kingdom of God. That is the message that he came to share. John said, prepare, the kingdom of God is at hand. Jesus came and said, behold, the kingdom of God is here. That is the message. And if you'll go and read anything that he said, it was always about going within your heart to find that place where God is. But when he was speaking to the people, he was speaking to a people who had a lot of needs. They needed to be freed from the government of Rome. They needed salvation from their own government. The rules of their clergy were so extensive. The judicial system was not anywhere near unbiased. They were faced with a sense of being opposed at almost every turn. So he's speaking to people who do not feel they have a choice in the world. And his comment to them was, in Matthew 6:32, he said, don't worry about your needs. Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. Just like our song. Seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Everything you're worrying about, all the food you look for, the money, the prosperity, the stuff, all of that will be added unto you. In Aquarian 99:30, I wanted to read this to you. He's talking to the populace about the lilies of the field. We remember that, don't we? How they are so cared for, they are so glorious. The birds don't think about what they need. God takes care of everything. And if God so loves nature, why wouldn't he love his own children? And then he said, seek first the kingdom of the soul, the righteousness of God, the good of men, and murmur not. God will protect, feed, and clothe. I'll read that again. Seek first the kingdom of the soul, the righteousness of God, the good of men, and murmur not. God will protect, feed, and clothe. In the kingdom of God, the beautiful energy of God, is that idea that our needs are met. In the world that Jesus was talking about, the people were faced with all sorts of energy telling them what to do. The laws, as we just discussed, the strict rituals that they had to adhere to. And we can look at that and we can say, wow, they really didn't have much wiggle room, did they? But look at your world. Look at all the agreed upon conditions that we adhere to. We all buy and dress ourselves the way we are guided to by the apparel market. We drive our vehicles on the road to go to the job that we are guided to by our community. There are so many subtle cultural agreements that we still adhere to. And once we adhere to those agreements, then we let ourselves choose. Do you hear me? What would it feel like to move into a space where the kingdom of God prevails versus this energy that chooses for us? And it's subtle. We still think we've got enough free will, don't we? But how much do we let that subtle energy sculpt our choices? And we're not even awake to it. Living in the agreed condition limits the ability for us to really feel. And Dr. Errico, who is an Aramaic scholar, said, he has visited us many times and spoken on this topic, that in Aramaic, when they refer to the word kingdom of God, they are also referring to the word counsel. That we are in the counsel of God. We are able to hear and understand the guidance of God. And if God is going to be providing our needs, don't we need to be in God's counsel? Don't we need to be listening and understanding? But how to get there, you ask? I heard that. Okay, I'm going to take you on a journey through the Aquarian. This is 71, 4 through 7. People were coming to Jesus. He was still a young man, still beginning his work with his own people. And they came to him seeking this wisdom that he had. And they're asking him to basically organize us. Organize us. Tell us what to do, you know? And he says to them, I cannot show you the king. They're asking for the king of his faith. I cannot show you the king unless you see with the eyes of soul, because the kingdom of the king is in the soul. Every soul a kingdom is. Every soul a kingdom is. And there is a king for every man. This king is love. And when this love becomes the greatest power in life, it is the Christ. So Christ is king. And everyone may have this Christ dwell in his soul as Christ dwells in my soul. The kingdom is in every man. Then he says, 81:26, he's speaking to the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. And she's saying, why do you have to go to Jerusalem and worship? Because they had their own temple in Samaria. And he said to her, the hour has come when men must worship God within the temple of the heart. For God is not within Jerusalem, nor in the holy mount in any way that he is not in every heart. And then, 155. Jesus is teaching the people in the last year of his life. And a man is asking which is the greatest law of the commandments. And Jesus said, the first, O Israel, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, and all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. These are the greatest of the 10, and on them hang the law, the prophets, and the Psalms. And a scribe said, my soul gives witness that you speak the truth, for love fulfills the law, and far transcends burnt offerings and sacrifice. This man had just in that moment risen above the laws that he had agreed to live by his culture, and he followed his heart. He said, in my heart I hear you, and I believe what you say is true, that the love of God is greater than the laws man has created. And Jesus said to him, lo, you have solved the mystery. You are within the kingdom, and the kingdom is in you. Breathe that in. Very simple, isn't it? Love of God, love of self, leads us to that space where God is. Love of God, love of self. Living in a space where we get the counsel of God and our needs are met. The counsel of God and our needs are met. Sounds very simple, doesn't it? Yet we live in a world where there are so many guidelines, so many things to live by. The other day, I picked up my Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East book, which I haven't picked up in many years to teach, since 2005. And in it, I found something that had come down to me many years ago. It was before 9/11, so I could be 15 years old, but I love it when I get these beautiful insights. I had written this. I was concerned at the time. The world's reality is creeping in at the edges of our consciousness. There is war and threats. And then, this is what Spirit said to me. Remember, it wasn't the world's reality that got you where you are today. The world did not pluck you up and place you. It was God's reality. God opened your heart and mind to your true potential, and you lived in God's reality, where all work together for the good of those who love God. And I kept that because it was so true. No man came to me and said, "Oh, Cindy, you're such a great minister. You just look like a minister." No one came to me and said, "I love the way you pray. You're just awesome. You really should join my group. You really should study with me." No. God said, I need you here, listen. And then prepared the path that no man could see. My own parents were in fear that I would fall flat on my face, stepping out without visible means of support on any level. Yet everything was cared for. That is the reality of God's reality. That is the kingdom of God, where we walk in the consciousness of counsel, and in that the needs are met. Very simple, yes? All right. God's reality has all potential, all truth. We love it when we touch it, don't we? When you feel God moving through you, you just feel overwhelmed. I cry. I just am in awe, and it is enough. That feeling of love fills me to overflowing, and I am in bliss. It's enough. But in the kingdom of God, there is also another aspect that we kind of forget about. I wanted to share with you in Luke. This is very small, and we typically avoid it because it's like, This is Luke 9:62. Jesus has been talking about the kingdom of God and all the familiar parables that you're familiar with. The mustard seed, the precious land, the pearl. But then he says, "No man who puts his hand on the plow handle and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God." Did you hear? No man who puts his hand on the plow handle and looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. Now, in his day and time, everybody understood what that meant. When you begin the work, if you need to look back and measure your progress or validate your worth by the work you have done, your focus has just gone to the world. And you are no longer in the counsel and the guidance of Spirit. Do you understand? We cannot take our ego expectations into the kingdom of God. That is why it is so hard for us to stay there. Don't we love our ego expectations? We cannot take the ego expectations into the kingdom of God. But there are two expectations we can take. We can expect that we will hear God's counsel, and we can expect that our needs will be met. Do you see? It's so simple. Such a simple shift in perception takes us there. If we need to measure our accomplishments, we're still looking for the worldly payoff. And people still do that in metaphysics. They say, "God, I just did this great thing for you. When's it coming back? I just gave great substance." Now, why did I give great substance if I'm doing this? For the payoff. Am I in the kingdom of God? No. We need to really be aware that in the realm of God's reality, everything is different. There are none of these agreed perceptions. It's all the energy of love. It's the energy of peace. The payday, the payoff never looks the way you think. And they asked me to share with you a story of mine because it deals with money. And I know money, whether you want to own this or not, is still the trigger for almost everyone who still walks on the planet. Because we have used this as our point of barter. I give my energy, I get this piece of paper. This piece of paper. I have several of them. Little piece of paper. I have given this much energy to somebody and I got this back. Now I'm going to give this to someone else so I can get their energy. You understand? It's just a piece of paper of intermediate exchange. It's in motion. But we make it so important. We make it so important. One day, and again, this is probably 8 years ago or 9 years ago, I had a dream, and I had these letters in my dream, maybe 4 of them, and I knew they were very important, so I wrote them down. And I got up the next morning, I thought, well, that's important. I must Google that, because it wasn't a word, right? So I'm Googling it, and I don't get anything. There's nothing there. And I thought, well, you know, maybe it's a stock code. You know, the stock codes, I don't even do stock enough to tell you what that word is. Ticker symbol. Thank you. A ticker symbol. So we had an account that had been around for about 10 years, and I knew how to Google into it, or I knew how to get into it. So I got into it, and I put the little thing in. Lo and behold, it was a company. It was a company in Japan. And I thought, well, now why would I be even looking at a company in Japan? God, what are you doing? And so I went into their profile, and I wanted to share this with you. They had a pyramid of the company's basic principles. People, community, and peace. And I went, peace? Oh my gosh. And this is what their principles are. This is a corporation whose operations are dedicated to the pursuit of peace and prosperity. This is a corporation that respects human dignity and values personal relationships. This is a corporate group rooted in local community life and dedicated to making continuing contribution to the community. And I went, oh God, of all the crazy names and numbers and symbols in the world, God gave me that in a dream. How wonderful. And in my little account that had been kind of isolated there was just a little bit of cash that hadn't been invested. And so I split it in half, because half was Patrick's to invest. So I took my little half and I bought some shares. And I told Patrick, I said, oh, I just bought some shares that God told me to buy. This is so awesome. And it's peace, and these people love God. It's just wonderful. I feel great about it. I can't wait to see what happens. Well, they have been absolutely stable at the same for the last 8 or so years. Of course, don't you know my human nature is going, payoff! We're looking for a payoff! And Spirit was reminding me, because as I watch it, I just go, well, those are my friends in Japan. Those are my friends in Japan doing good in the world. And they said, it is so important for us to realize it was more important for me to get the counsel, to act on the counsel, and to connect with my brothers in Japan. And you know, when Japan had that great challenge recently, about a year ago, their stock didn't budge. These people didn't budge. And I'm not saying go buy their stock. I'm saying when we are working with God consciousness in the kingdom of God, we cannot measure the activity by our worldly minds. But we can expect God provides. We can expect our needs will be met. So, I wanted to share one more story with you, and then we'll go into our meditation. This is a beautiful story. It's one of my favorites, and Jesus is very young. We know he's under 24, so we don't know if he's in his 20s or he's a teen. The Brahmic priests do not like him because he will not come into their palace and bow to their authority. And he's not against them. He just has a message that is contradictory to theirs, so he's doing his own thing. And they try to come to him secretively at night, and one man named Ajanin comes at night, and he says this. Jesus says, there is no night where shines the sun. I have no secrets to give you. In the light, all secrets are revealed. What are you doing coming to me in the dark? There is nothing hidden from you. And Ajanan said, I came from far away, Lahore, that I might learn the ancient wisdom and the kingdom of the Holy One of which you speak. Where is the kingdom? Where's the king? Who are the subjects? What are its laws? When you approach a standard religion before you get involved, don't you ask those same questions? When you approach anything, don't you say, what are the rules? Who's in charge here? What are the rules here? How do I interact here? This is our human nature. And Jesus said, the kingdom is not far away, but man with mortal eyes can see it not. It is within the heart. You need not seek the king in earth, sea, or sky. He is not there, yet everywhere. He is the Christ of God, universal love. The gate of his dominion is not high. He who enters it must fall down on his knees. It is not wide, but none can carry burdens through. The lower self must be transmuted into spirit, and the body must be washed in living streams of purity. And Ajanan said, can I become a subject of this king? And Jesus said, you are yourself a king. And you may be subject to the King of Kings. But you must lay aside your priestly robes and cease to serve the Holy One for gold. You must give your life and all you have in willing service for the sons of men. Jesus said no more. Ajanan went his way. And while he could not comprehend the truth that Jesus spoke, he saw what he had never seen before. The realm of faith he never had explored, but in his heart the seeds of faith and universal brotherhood found good soil. He journeyed to his home. He seemed to sleep, to pass the darkest night. And when he woke, the Son of Righteousness had arisen, and he found the King. It is within. It is within. Each one of us is that beautiful child of God. Each one of us feels the touch of love in our heart. And it is not by any faith can take you there. It is not by a rule. It's by a desire to go into that space of oneness. In Luke 12:32, it says, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. So let's go in for just a moment. Just take a breath and see that beautiful light of God coming over you. And I want you just to feel the gentle softness of God. I want you to feel that beautiful energy of how deeply you are loved. And imagine you can go into that beautiful space of your own heart. And I want you to see the goodness in your heart. See the goodness of who you are. See your great desire to be that goodness in the world. Feel that as you touch the goodness of your heart, you can feel the love right beside it. And if you are ready, you can just ask, God, I ask that love expressed through me. I ask that your counsel move to me. And I ask to take my first step in allowing my needs to be met through you. My first step. And if you are not ready, that's okay. Feel the love and the goodness God has for you. Know that you are that perfect divine child of God. Take a breath. I am good. And I choose the kingdom of God. Feel that love pouring through you. Feel yourself safe. And I want you to gently open your eyes. really becoming that beautiful energy that walks in that kingdom of God is a daily task. It is not easy. It requires continued focus. And you know, we have a seminary program, and we have a level called the Ministers of Healing. They have completed the Teachers of Principle, which is a year, the Aquarian Gospel, which is a year, the New Testament, which is a year. They have done psychic development, meditation, healing classes. They've taught the children. They've done Tuesday nights. They have stepped forth to watch God move through their lives in a way where they can be used as a channel of healing. In February 13, 2011, we ordained our first 3 ministers of healing. In January 2012, a year later, we ordained our next 2. Today, we will be ordaining 4. In December, we will ordain 3. The next students that could possibly become ministers of healing could not possibly become that until 2015, for there's a lot of training between here and there. So, InnerQuest, your first round of ministers of healing will be 12. I'd like to ask the 4 ladies who will be being ordained today to come up. Lisa Peacock, Danielle Gokel, Charmaine Scruggs, and Janet Cooley. These are the ladies that have spent 4 years probably at this program and have dedicated their lives now to be used as a minister of healing for InnerQuest Church. Janet? Janet Foley is very quiet. Get her talking and she's good, but she's very quiet. She is a beautiful channel of God's love and an absolute tower of strength. She has this steadfast consciousness. And I almost forgot, Nan, Patrick, and Cheryl, would you please stand over here? Cheryl's right here. These are our ministers. I'm going to stand in support. So, Miss Janet, are you ready? Janet, will you give God your mind so that every thought that you have flows with that beautiful energy of God love? Will you give God your heart so that you become that beautiful expression of love in all that you do? And will you give God your hands so that everything that you do has the healing touch of restoration and peace? Father, Mother God, we ask that your light move through Janet now. We ask that infinite love and peace fill her body, mind, and spirit with your touch. And as she commits in this moment, we ask that the healing angels surround her, that her soul be set on that path of being used as an instrument of healing for you. And I thank you. Danielle is a beautiful light. Danielle is a magnificent interpreter, one that I have never seen. And I hope that her journey allows you to be a witness of this as she shares her light with the world. And fabulous healing. Danielle, do you give God your mind so that every thought flows with that beautiful love of God light? Do you give God your heart so you become that expression emitting love in all that you do? And do you give God your hands so that everything you touch is filled with that beautiful healing love of God? Father, Mother God, I ask that your light enfold Danielle. I ask that the healing angels gather as she is lifted into that space of surrendering to become and to express healing to all that she sees in all that she does. She is your beloved daughter. And I thank you. Charmaine is so beautiful and unique. Just a delightful perspective. If you ever want a different vantage point, ask Charmaine. It's refreshing. It's beautiful. It's refreshing and beautiful and so uplifting. And you have walked with me all these years. Charmaine, do you give God your mind? Yes. So all your thoughts are one of His. Yes. Do you give God your heart? Yes. Everything that you now feel and do and express will be built from that God consciousness. Yes. And do you give God your hands? Yes. So everything that you do in the world will be filled with healing energy. From the most minute detail to the grandest. Father, Mother God, we ask that your light totally enfolds Charmaine. I ask that the healing angels be with her now and lift her up. We ask that the beautiful path before her be created so that her healing talents can be used. She is your beloved daughter. Lisa was one of our founding members. She came to us in our first couple of years of our ministry. And then she went on with her life and moved a little further away and came back 7, 8 years ago. Lisa is a healing person. There is nothing that she touches that does not evoke healing. She is already here. Healing has been a part of her life. So it is an honor to have you stand forth, letting Spirit now guide that talent that already exists within. Lisa, to give God your mind, so that all of your thoughts are now governed by His works and His love and His peace.
I do.
And to give God your heart, so that you become that beautiful channel of healing force.
With everything in me.
And you give God your hands. So everything that you do, from the smallest to the greatest, is an expression of your heart.
Yes.
Father, Mother God, we ask that your light totally unfolds. I ask that that beautiful spirit of healing energy lift her up, and the angels support her now as she takes this new space to be the minister of healing in your kingdom. Bless her now as her healing becomes your will, your light and your peace. And we thank you. I would just ask for the seminary students, if you would just stand. I want to give a special blessing. This, your sisters. So let's just send our love. We so know your walk. And we so honor and love that you have come to this moment. We send our personal love as your family. And we send the love of Spirit, asking for peace to guide you. And now if we can have the whole congregation stand. Inner Quest, these are your ministers. We're just going to feel that beautiful celebratory love of God moving through us, and we surround you. We accept you wholeheartedly as representatives of our heart, as ministers of healing for this church. And we let our love move. And Father, Mother God, use them as channels of healing grace. And we thank you. And so, all right, Pastor. I just want to close with one thing. This is in Luke 17. When people say, go here, go there, your answer's here, your answer's there, Jesus says, behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Take that with you today as you go. Yea, God.
Yeah.